Hello, hello. Leah Brathwaite here. For those of you who don't know me, I am the founder of the Live Free Lifestyle Inc. I am an author, a mentor, and a coach, and I am so excited to be having this conversation today. I am going to be chatting with one of my very nearest and dearest friends, Kelsey Graham of Radical Self-Love, all about taking your power back with boundaries. But before we dive into our conversation together, hi Jenna, hi Marie, hello. When you're coming on, say hello. If you're watching the replay, you can go ahead and leave an emoji. Let me know what you enjoyed most out of this conversation. Thank you, Jenna, so sweet. Hi Marie again. Hello, hello. So good to see you all. So today what I want to share first before we get started is about the Live Free Lifestyle, because this is the foundation for all of the work that we do at the Live Free Lifestyle Inc. And it's the foundational program that I created that came out of necessity for myself at a time when I would have really needed exactly what I teach, when I was about to make really big changes in my life and had no idea how to do it, where to go. I didn't have the confidence, the clarity, the courage. I was just kind of stumbling in the dark. So this is a program that I am so incredibly proud of, because not only for myself, but for my clients and everybody who's gone through the program, it is absolutely a life-changing experience. And it's also something that I have a hard time describing, because there's a lot of transformation, there's a lot of magic that happens in the container of the Live Free Lifestyle. So I want you to bear with me for a little bit while I try to explain it in terms of an analogy. And the way that I think about it is with Superman. Well, or let's say Supergirl, goes about their regular life as a regular person. Things are pretty fine until something happens. There's a change, there's a shift that happens. And then all of a sudden it's required that they step into a greater version of themselves. So Supergirl gets into the telephone booth or wherever she changes, goes through this transformation, this magic, and then emerges as her most empowered and super version of herself. That is what it's like in the container of the Live Free Lifestyle. You go in regular, maybe a little lost, maybe a little confused, maybe wanting to up level, knowing that there's more out there for you, really having a sense of wanting to create change in your life. You go through this 12-week experience, have the transformation, all of the magic happens, and then you emerge on the other side as the most empowered version of yourself. So while there's a lot of magic and transformation that happens in the program, there are some really foundational and fundamental tools that we go through. So over the course of our 12 weeks, there are 9 specific modules that give you so much information, so much actual tangible material that you can apply in your life to make radical shifts. So one of those modules is all about elevating your standards. It's all about creating boundaries around your values. It's all about finding direction. So today's conversation with Kelsey is going to be all about taking back your power through boundaries and what it really means to be in alignment with your truth, your purpose, and your power. So I saw her in here. Let me invite her in. Hi, Reem. Hi, Curious Soul Spark. Hi, Love Always Vic. So good to see your faces. Let us bring up Miss Kelsey Graham. So if you don't know Kelsey, she is not only an incredible human. Hello, there she is.
Hello.
She's one of my favorite humans of all time. She is a teacher, a mentor, a writer, an incredible musician, and a boundaries badass. And I'm so excited to dive into this conversation. I don't know if you caught the preamble, but we were talking all about the container of the Live Free Lifestyle, how you are going to be joining us for an incredible experience. This is the first time that I'm bringing in guest teachers, but Kelsey is going to be facilitating a workshop all about embodied boundaries, which is critical in being able to live in alignment with what is true for you. So talking about alignment, it's the whole reason that we're actually even in conversation together, because both of us have lived our lives very much in the flow of alignment, following those threads of truth, really getting clear on what was ours, what was not ours, making the changes necessary for that. So I want to dive in with you. Hi, Reeve.
Excited.
and
Let's do it.
and
Got work and I'm
yes,
ready to rumble.
you should have seen like the smoke show that was going on behind the scenes. I'm like burning my Palo Santo, and I'm like, look, we're gonna calm this down. Going live in like a second. So
So
we are
excited.
fired up. So excited. So first of all, I wanted to ask you, what does it mean to you to live in alignment? So to live in alignment with your truth, with your purpose, with your power. What is that for you?
Oh gosh, what a big question. But
I know.
also like a very simple question. Um, like the long kind of version of it is, you know, it was I think 14 or 15 years ago when I moved to Vancouver, and our whole, like literally our whole social circle, it was me and a group of dudes. Like I was the only woman.
Mhm.
And everything is about living on purpose, living on purpose, living on purpose. That was literally our mantra. Like all we do is live on purpose. And so what that meant is I had to go down and in and figure out what mattered most to me. So for me, living on purpose is living in alignment with my core values. And it's as simple as that, but it's also complex because you've got to figure out what your core values are. You might, hear some, buzzwords and like, ooh, that sounds great, I want that.
Yeah.
And then you play with it for a while and you realize, ooh, that actually isn't like quite clicking for me. Like it might be something I value, but it might not be a core value. And so for me, like love, enchantment slash magic, um, compassion. These are like really intense core values. Connection is also a core value for me. So I orient my life around those principles. And I also have this other thing that I do. Like, if like it doesn't essentially like expand me into deeper levels of who I am, I'm not doing it.
Mm, 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 mm,
And
mm, mm.
one,
That's
one
the
year
gold there.
it's not like friends, fulfillment, fitness, or fun, I'm not in.
Friends,
Like
fulfillment, fitness, fun. I love it. I love
I'm
it.
just not into it.
I
And
totally hear you. Hmm.
so I play with these different intentions and different ways to orient every year. Like
Hmm.
every year it's a little different, and because I'm different every year, I'm constantly revealing more of myself to myself. And so it's impossible for living on purpose to not shift. Like it has to shift as I grow. And if it's just this static thing that is never changing,
Yeah.
personally, I would be really curious about that. Like, is it actually on purpose? Because
Yes.
to me, purpose is moving with the fluidity of life. Like, you are
Hmm.
not the same person today that you were 10 years ago. There might be
Yeah.
similar threads, of course, but you're going to be different. And if you're not different, that means you're not growing. And if you're not growing, life's probably pretty fucking boring and also maybe a little crunchy.
A little crunchy for sure. I love that. So much of what you said, I don't know if you heard the preamble, but I was talking about this idea of a transformation container like the Live Free Lifestyle or like the containers that you offer. You go in as a version of yourself. And it doesn't mean that there's anything wrong or broken with that version of yourself, but if there's a desire for more, if there's this longing for expansion, if there's this longing for more expression, more purpose, more passion, more joy, more fitness, fun, friends, whatever it is, then there's something that needs to shift so that you can become that version of yourself. You can become the embodiment of the desire that you have. So within the container of the Live Free Lifestyle or within the container of any of the incredible programs that you offer, or even within the container of your boundaries, that's where that transformation starts. And then you emerge on the other side once you've embodied it as this supergirl version of yourself, which is the most expanded, expressed, embodied version that is living out that new experience of who you are. So you said it so perfectly. Like it's the journey of going down and in and really identifying like, is this true for me? Is this what I want? Is this who I really am? I think so many of us, I know my own experience, and we've chatted about your experience as well, about how we lose ourselves in the expectations of others. We lose ourselves in trying to move outside of ourselves to make everybody happy. There's all kinds of threads of codependency and stuff. So oftentimes we don't even know what the things are that light us up. We have like maybe a vague desire, but we don't let ourselves feel them fully. And that's where the importance of boundaries comes in. So I want to talk a little bit more about how you take your power back with boundaries. Like, what does it look like to put a boundary around something?
Well, I mean, it's really interesting because this whole concept of like taking your power back, it's been in my field, at least for the last week. I've been getting a lot of questions in my container about it. I just did a talk about it, and now we're here talking about it. So I think it's like a hot topic these days. And, you know, part of taking your power back is just knowing what is a yes for you and what is a no for you, and being courageous enough to back that up. So, it's really fucking simple. Like, these things aren't complex. Well, I mean, some of them are complex. I shouldn't say that. Some things are complex, but in theory, like, these are all pretty simple things. And then we have to kind of trudge through the muck and like clean out the emotional pipes, clean out the relational pipes, clean out the sometimes physical pipes. Like, sometimes it's literally you are just like full, and we need to like flush out the fullness that is in your digestive system, and it's fucking with your, you know, feelings of feeling good. So like there's so many ways this can all fit together. And for me, the definition of boundaries that I use is the high quality information that people need in order to love you best. So sometimes
we get a quote. Yes.
Yeah. Sometimes out in the world, like the whole concept of boundaries is like these hard like lines and like these walls. Like, a boundary isn't a wall. And this is where if you have any codependent coding in you, somewhere there will be an association that boundaries mean walls, which means like a cut or a loss of connection.
Mm-hmm.
And so like the first layer of taking your power back is getting the actual definition of what a boundary is.
Totally.
I mean, like, oh, it's not actually like cutting connection. It's actually inviting. It's the bridge for deeper connection.
Mm-hmm. And it begins with starting to recognize the connection that you have with yourself.
Absolutely.
So letting people love you better, it requires you understanding like what parts are lovable, what parts do you feel are unlovable, and having the courage to kind of go in and look at those places within yourself, soothe them, regulate your nervous system, create emotional intelligence and awareness around them, and then start to invite other people into that experience. Because if you don't feel safe in that, if you don't feel safe with yourself, it's going to be a wall, because it's like, in the past, this is what happened. It wasn't safe, so I'm not letting anybody in here with me. But you said two things that were really powerful to, one of which was like the high quality information to let people love you more. That to me is all about understanding what your core values are, what you value, what's important to you. It's all about the module that you'll be teaching in, which is called Elevate Your Standards, which is like aligning with your core values and figuring out what those are for you. But the other thing on top of that that you mentioned was like having the courage to let your yes be yes and your no be no, and having the distinction between the two so that you can really stand behind it. And it's so, like, you're right, it's so fucking easy. Is it a yes or is it a no? But it's the courage piece that is the hard part. We often know, yes, early bird, 1984, this will be recorded and saved. We often know or have a sense, like a body feeling of what a yes is, what an expansion is, and what a contraction is, but we don't honor it because there's so much garbage in our minds. There's so much history that we've lived through, valid history of pain that we've experienced, and we're just carrying that stuff forward. So as you mentioned, it's the cleaning out of the systems, the cleaning out of the mental, the emotional, the physical, and the spiritual systems, so that we're not just throwing up these walls. We're inviting other people into our experience. So yeah, snaps to that.
Yeah. And you're welcome. Thank you. We'll be here all day.
Thank you for coming to our TED Talk. We're gonna be hanging out for a while.
Secrets to the universe. You're welcome.
Yeah, no kidding. Okay, so we talked a little bit about this, but I wanted to know if you could dive in just a little bit more before we wrap up. What do you think the biggest obstacle is in people setting clear and compassionate boundaries, not just like throwing up walls and like karate chopping things out of their life or cutting people out? What do you think is the biggest barrier to aligned boundaries?
I mean, there's a couple, but I mean, the first one that sticks out is that they just haven't had a model of how to do it. So if it hasn't ever been modeled for you, then how would you know?
Yeah.
And so we make ourselves wrong a lot of the time for not knowing these things, and yet they weren't modeled and they are not hanging out in your relational blueprint. So if you don't have the blueprint of this is how to be a healthy communicator, this is how to identify your core values and your core needs, and this is how you communicate all of that with grace, with compassion, with love, and fierceness.
Yeah.
Well, then it's going to be really challenging to do so, because it's almost like you're kind of throwing mud at the wall and like seeing what sticks. And instead of knowing that the wall is this beautiful canvas and you have this set of glorious paints and paintbrushes and you get to like literally design this mural, you don't know that you have all of those tools at your disposal if this has not been modeled for you.
100%.
And I think the secondary piece to that is a lack of permission. So again, like the world currently is coded with a lot of codependency. And when you have a world that is coded with codependency, you are not going to be frequently receiving permission and encouragement to set healthy boundaries. Because again, it's not being largely modeled in the world. So I think that is the biggest thing. And so if it feels crunchy, if it feels weird, if you are like, I don't know where I fucking start, don't worry. Like you're not like this is not as big of an issue as you think it is. It just means that you have to find people who have figured out how to do this. Like unfortunately, it was not in my relational blueprint either. And so I had to figure this stuff out the hard way. And that's why I teach what I teach, so that there is a pathway through where you don't have to be mudslinging for a fucking decade. And you like get the, you know, what is it? It's like the owner's manual to yourself.
Yes.
This is like the express pass here.
Totally.
Like you can go the hard way if you want, but like, there's a lot of other.
I don't recommend it.
I don't recommend it. Don't recommend it. But you can. You have free will, and I am not here to like tell you what to do, but like these invitations, like, and I'm not the only one who teaches this, and you're not the only one who teaches this. Like there are a lot of teachers out there. I mean, we're probably like one of the funnest ones to work with, let's be honest.
Totally.
But there are so many teachers out there, and as long as you align, and it doesn't even necessarily have to be a teacher. It could be a friend who has figured this out. It could be a colleague who's figured this out. Maybe even someone in your family system figured it out. So there are many places that you can look to see like, oh, there's someone who I really admire in the way that they communicate, the way that they like stand in their sovereignty, the way that they communicate their boundaries, like, and you'll usually know that based on how they interact with you. So someone who's really good at setting boundaries will have set a boundary with you at some point.
And if you're not used to it, you'll be like, oh, what do you mean you're telling me that you can't do this because I want you to do this and I expect you to do this? But yeah, two really key things, modeling and permission. Like it was not the upbringing that I had. Boundaries was not a thing that I was taught. It was like you do for others and you keep doing. And if you're dead, you keep doing. You just use your dead body over as somebody's like walkway. So the backwards bending of constantly trying to be all things for all people is where we really lose ourselves, and we end up in these lives that we create for ourselves that may look good but feel really empty inside. We may have all of the exterior validation that we could ever hope for, but we can't feel it internally, and there's this unfulfilled sense of emptiness inside. And so many of us have stories about that, of like really big milestones, really great accomplishments, doing these incredible things, but feeling so disconnected from it because there's a part of us that wasn't present to that experience. There was a part of us that was operating beyond our boundaries, beyond our truth, our value, our purpose, all of that stuff in the realm of other people's pleasure and expectation. And we didn't give ourselves the permission to really tune inward and be like, is this mine? Is this for me? Yeah. And I love the point that you mentioned about when you're looking for models of this stuff, like not everybody is for everybody. So that's another way to exercise your boundaries, another way of like determining, what do I value here? Do I value the way this person shows up? Do I value the information that they have to share? How do I interact with it? So it's getting to know your own self and understanding what resonates, and then allowing yourself the permission, having the courage to follow what feels like a yes. And important note, this shit does not feel comfortable all the time. There's a difference between like resonance and expansion, and then like the discomfort that comes along with growth and expansion, and the courage that's required to follow those threads of resonance.
Yep.
It doesn't always feel good. It doesn't always look pretty while you're in the transformational stage. And that's why it's so beautiful to have containers available where you can go in, be held and guided, do the quick change, and then emerge as like superwoman in 12 weeks, 6 months, however long it is, instead of the roads that you and I took, which was 10 years of bushwhacking, trying to figure shit out, doing all the things wrong, making all the mistakes, to be able to turn around and be like, hey, I found a way through this, but there's many other ways. If this way feels good to you, come along. If it doesn't, that's cool too. Yeah. Namaste. Peace be with you.
Yeah.
But
a beautiful incarnation.
Yeah, exactly. Ciao. But not needing it to mean anything about the other person, like not needing it to mean anything about yourself, not needing it to mean anything about the other person, just recognizing like alignment and resonance is something that is individual. Like you're going to move with it. The more you get to know yourself, the more you see others and understand what's triggering you, where your values are, the more you can follow faster the things that feel good, and the more you can say no to the things that feel bad, and you collapse time around the experiences that you want to have going from point A to point B. So I'm so friggin' excited for you to come into the Live Free Lifestyle and share this magic with all of the beautiful souls who are going to be joining in this round, and all of the beautiful souls from past rounds who also want to join in. I don't want to give away like all of the goodies, but I would love for you to, if you would like.
Always more goodies.
I know. There's so many goodies. But if you wanted to share a little bit about what you're going to be leading the crew through. So you're coming in week 5, I believe, where we are talking all about elevating your standards. So it's about aligning with your core values. It's about creating boundaries for yourself. And you are going to be doing an extra guest facilitated workshop that is going to be so incredibly powerful. I've done some of Kelsey's embodied alchemy classes. She's one of my absolute best friends. Love this woman to death. And she just has so much wisdom, so much power, insight, and ferocity in her teachings, but in the most fun, loving, and compassionate way. So I'm super excited about it, just to like get to learn from you in a different capacity, get to share space with you. But if there's anything that you wanted to share about what you'll be offering, or if there's anything that you wanted to share about the current offers that you have that kind of speak to the same thing, I would love to give you the floor.
Okay. Well, for your container, we're going to be doing a special curated class of embodied alchemy. So there will be a teaching segment on standards, boundaries that I will go through, and I do them in a transmission style. So I will personally hold a ceremony for your container, and It'll come through like what the message is that your container specifically needs in relation to those topics. And then part of the ceremony is mapping out the embodied alchemy journey. So when we started this conversation, we were talking about cleaning out the pipes. And the embodied alchemy method is one method that you can use to clean out the emotional pipes and the physical pipes, the relational pipes, because it is a movement practice, but it's also an alchemical practice. So that means we are going to be releasing what is no longer needed, and the body will naturally know how to do that through the guided journey and exploration. But then once we release what is stuck or what is not of service anymore, what we're left with is this opening to go down and in and touch the threads of what is really true for us. And when we touch those threads of what's true, then it makes it so much easier to implement whatever it is that I will be teaching you in the boundaries and standards section.
Yeah.
So it's really important to me to bring both of these elements to the teaching.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the teaching kind of stays up here. It stays really mental, it stays really cognitive, instead of like coming down and into the body and being able to actually embody the things that you desire. I don't know if you've ever experienced someone who tries to set a boundary and they're not embodied. It feels real gross on the receiving end, but it also feels really fucking weird when you're the one doing it.
You're like, I don't know why I'm doing this, but I think this is what I'm supposed to do, so I'm just going to say boundary.
It's like this like emotional word vomit.
Yeah, totally.
Where like all of the past like pent up energy of like, times where you couldn't advocate for yourself gets literally like blown onto this person who just, you know, was 5 minutes late.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not in proportion.
Yeah, disproportionate for sure.
Alchemical practice, the embodiment practice, helps you like essentially clear out and flush out all of that excess energy of past times where, you know, it's just clogged. Like anytime we don't honor what's true for us, there's a clog in our emotional pipe. And so this is why like in my containers, they're long. Like we do an embodied alchemy series that's 8 weeks long. And there's, you know, a 13-month path called Initiated, where that's the relational world. So if you really want to get down and in to transform those relational patterns, Initiated is where we go. And we go slow because these skills and these practices, like you need time to practice them.
Yes.
Because if you don't have, you know, a trainer or, you know, a system set up to practice, you can learn all this stuff, but it's not going to integrate. And then you're like, well, fuck, like my life is still the same as it was. That was a waste of an investment. And it's only because there isn't proper guidance or space for integration. And I know that that's really important to you and that's really important to me. And we weave it in different ways. Yeah. But you need that space.
Totally.
Otherwise, like we're just like buzzing. And we can't slow down. And again, like this is a key to like touching those threads of truth. Like, can you sit still and be with yourself? And that doesn't mean you have to physically sit still, but it means that can you slow down your life? Or does everything have to be like running like buzz, 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 buzz all the time?
Because we're so used to,
So used to. And like, look at our world. Like we're constantly overstimulated.
Totally.
So like sitting with yourself could look like putting your phone away for an hour and not touching it and just paying attention to the sensations that you experience.
The discomfort of not being in close proximity to your phone, or the habitual ways of like checking out or numbing out or avoiding facing yourself. So yes to all of that. So brilliant, so beautiful. I'm so friggin' excited for it. And it's so important to integrate all aspects. I think there's a lot of, when I was on my personal development journey, I had to find things in different realms. Like I would read all the self-help books and that was all of the head stuff. I did all of the yoga and that was like the body and spiritual stuff. And then I would do all of the breath work and that would be like more of the integration of both, but then it didn't have like the practical tools to apply. So it was like all of these different things. And that's why I'm so proud of this program, because it's encompassing everything. We do the mindset work, we do the heart healing work, we do the body activations with breath work, with the embodied alchemy that you're going to be bringing in the boundaries section. And all of that is what allows you to free your soul to be the guide in your life, to be the thing that pulls you forward into the most expanded, empowered version of yourself. That's where your dreams come true. That's where you have your limitless potential. But it takes unclogging the pipes. It takes reprogramming your mindset. It takes opening your heart. It takes healing those old wounds and relieving yourself from that stuckness of the habitual busyness of avoiding life, of avoiding ourselves. So over the course of the first 4 weeks, we start to do some of that work so that when we get to your experience, it's like a powerful, powerful alchemical experience that allows the next step to open up into more freedom and fulfillment, which is the back end of the program. So this is the foundation that we are setting in the Live Free lifestyle. This is the foundation that Kelsey is bringing forward in this portion of the program, but it's also the foundation of the work that she does as well in the Embodied Alchemy series. I saw somebody, I think it was Curious Soul Spark, that was like, oh my God, Kelsey's embodiment classes are so good. I'm like, I know, they're amazing.
Red, you're the best. I love you so much.
So yeah, I'm so excited for that. I'm so excited for this program to begin. We start officially on February 22nd. All of the information to join in the Live Free lifestyle is in the link in my bio. You can, this is going to be saved. You can watch the replay. If you have any questions for either Kelsey or myself, please feel free to either send us a DM. Are your DMs open for that kind of stuff? Okay. Yeah. Please feel free to send us either a DM or post a question in the comment section. And thank you for being here. I love you so much. I can't wait to see you in real life in a couple, well, probably tomorrow or something. And in the meantime, I want to thank everybody who tuned in, everybody who is watching the replay. Really so, like, just so happy to be able to have these kinds of conversations, because I know when I was feeling the most alone and lost and uncertain, this was exactly what I needed. This was exactly what would have helped me. So really just happy to be able to put this out into the world and do it with someone I love so much.
The feeling is so mutual. I love you.
Love you too. All right, Mama, I will talk to you later. Everybody on the interwebs, I will see you later. Thanks
love you. Bye.
Bye.